think a lot of people, like myself included, get this level of hubris that's pretty dangerous. And I think like one thing that I forget a lot is the mistakes I make. And if you miss one pothole, you could crash and land on your head, and even through nobody else's fault but your own, you might crash. And I did a ride in the East Bay, and the descent, I had never gone down the descent, but I had climbed it so many times, I thought I had it memorized. But when you're climbing at 5 miles an hour, it's different than descending at 50 miles an hour. So I got to the first hairpin and just went flying into the forest, you know, and I saw myself, my body twisting, and I just barely I went through a barbed wire fence. Like, shoo, I shot right through the fence, like, and I wasn't trying to avoid anything. It was pure luck. And I came to a stop in the trees, and I missed 50 trees by inches, you know? I was like, whoo, that was gnarly. And I scrambled up the hill, I got on my bike, and I
walked away from it?
Yeah. It wasn't until I started going again, I had to stop. And then I realized exactly how potentially lethal that was.
In January, I had a really bad accident coming off, Spring Mountain in St. Helena.
Oh yeah.
And I was completely knocked out in the middle of the road. And luckily there were people behind me that ended up finding me. It was a ride for the Tour of California for probably 2 hours. I was just out of it. But I mean, had I had one of these, it would have been pretty helpful. So I'm lucky that there was somebody behind me that knew who I was, but otherwise, what do you do?
I have a pretty good story with that, where I was at a race. I crashed in that race, knocked myself out, and was air evac'd from New Mexico to Texas with nothing more than my flip-flops. The race went on, and I was in Texas, and I couldn't talk because I was coming out of unconsciousness, and they didn't know they knew who I was, but they didn't have any past information on me, nor any contact for a good few hours. And that was in a race while I had the security of my team with me there.
I saw one of my friends crash really bad. He didn't even remember who he was, and we all knew him really well, but not one of us knew his girlfriend's phone number or any of his contact info. And it took hours to track her down, and had he had a road ID, it would have been like that. And she could have played an important role in making sure that he was safe and taken care of.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, I was riding down the Pacific Coast Highway, and a guy on his cell phone just decided to take a right and just ran over me, straight over me from behind. And I mean, I was lucky, because if I had have gone under, it would have been worse, but I just rolled up over the car and had a couple of broken ribs. And I mean, it sounds strange to say you got run over and you're lucky, but it could have been a lot worse. And
it's like cars and cyclists, you know? It's like an eternal conflict. To go out there without every safety mechanism possible is really, like, helmet, road ID is really important nowadays. So you have to do everything in your power to protect yourself.
It's a dangerous combination. I think there's a lot of animosity between cyclists, or towards cyclists from drivers, and I think, you know, they're just caught up in their day-to-day, like we all get. You just happen to be an easy target and a vulnerable target as well. So
I was at a dinner the other night, and some lady's like, well, you know, cyclists, yeah, they ride on the road like they own the road. And I go, yeah, sometimes some drivers drive on the road like they own the road. And she's like, they do. And I'm like, no, they don't. It's a matter of just having that awareness come that, like, no, this is a viable vehicle for transportation. And, you know, we belong on the road as runners or cyclists, you know, just as well as a car does.
I saw a guy come right next to me on a motorcycle. He was on his cell phone. I was like, I thought I had seen everything. But if a guy wipes you out on a motorcycle and you're on your bike, you still go down and get mauled. So I'm like, that's it. That's the limit. I'll never see anything like that.
I had a woman almost hit me one time. She was pumping her breast. That was the first. She was on the phone. She had a Starbucks. She was on the phone with one ear, and she had this breast pump. And
multitasking.
Yeah. It was good.
That's she deserves an award.
Yeah. I like to do these all-night runs, as you guys have gathered, and I like running in the West County of Marin. Well, I'm out there running. It's about 2:15 in the morning, you know, just minding my own business, and a car comes whizzing around the corner, and it's heading right for me. But, you know, I'm protected. I'm lit up. I've got my reflective vest and my headlamp on, a flashing little beeper, and a, you know, handheld flashlight. So I'm like a running Christmas tree, you know? I mean, pretty lit up. Well, this car keeps coming right for me. And I'm thinking, okay, what do? car no bail off the roadside. So I go to jump off the road and there's a solid embankment. There's nowhere to jump. And it just whoosh. They go by so close, I could literally feel the heat of the radiator on my quad. I mean, they were that close.
You know, it's as important as putting air in your tires. It's an absolutely fundamental part of riding.
Yeah, the bottom line is we're always going to ride our bike, whether it's in traffic or rural roads or 2 a.m. in the morning. And wearing a road ID is just one more step we can take to give ourselves a peace of mind and to give our families a peace of mind that we're going to be okay. And with the interactive version, it's all updatable.
Yeah.
You can find out allergies, health insurance, group number, policy number.
Just log on with your password and put it all on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Helmet, shoes, bazooka, road ID. I'm set.
Swim, run and ride safe. Wear your road ID.